Thank you so much, Christine. This is quite an honor to be speaking to our partners. This is probably the most important thing we could be doing right now because, as Juliana mentioned, we have taken some time to really make sure we had our ducks in a row, scientifically speaking. And now the real work begins of taking that science and turning it into something that our end users can actually work with. So I was asked to set the stage for the next 2 days. And I will hopefully be able to do that in the next few minutes. So a few things that I'm going to talk about. I will remind us all what our mission is, why NGS exists. Then the next bullet is a little legal context, and I believe as a government employee I am constitutionally required to use some bureaucratic jargon during this talk, so I'll come in there. I'll talk a little bit about the NSRS, which is really important because many of your tools work with the NSRS and they work with things that are not the NSRS. And I'm going to talk about differences and blending the two. And I want to close with a note about accuracy because quite frankly, that's where I think the line in the sand will be drawn as far as how far you need to go to support and use the NSRS. And I think a lot of it comes out of accuracy. So, this is the NGS mission. If you haven't memorized it yet, please do now. There'll be a quiz later. But our job is to provide access to the NSRS. Not just define it, not just maintain it, but to provide access. In a lot of cases, that means working with partners. That means that you are providing access, and we've done something in a collaboration to make that possible. I want to keep that in my mind for the next 2 days. All right, so here comes the bureaucratic jargon. The office has been, why am I bringing this up? Because I want to explain how important we take our job and why we consider this our job at all. The Office of Management and Budget put out a circular called A16. I promise you this goes by quickly. It says, everybody in the federal government who is a civilian agency and you use geospatial data of some sort or another, you all have to tie that to geodetic control. And then they said, the Department of Commerce / NOAA is in charge of that geodetic control. What that means in him is us. But it didn't actually call NGS out by name, but that's where the geodetic control is that everybody needs to be working with. We have then stepped up and said, all right, that geodetic control is the National Spatial Reference System. We define horizontal datums, vertical datums, various support transformations, what have you. Then the group called the Federal Geodetic Control Subcommittee. That's pretty much all of the federal geospatial civilian agencies and some military intelligence agencies as well get together. We have issued a variety of federal register notices saying to ourselves, if you are a federal geospatial civilian agency, you have to use the most recent part of the NSRS. And so here are some of the federal register notices. In 1989, we said to ourselves, time to get off NAD 27, get on NAD 83, and etc. for various other components. So that's where we stand. That's our job. We are in charge of something very important to the federal government. And the modernization of the NSRS is about continuing that job. All right. So some of those requirements, by the way, they are not applicable to everyone. The military and the intelligence federal agencies do not have to use the NSRS. State and local governments don't have to. And private individuals and companies don't have to. Not by the FGCS rules, not by federal government rules. But in a lot of cases, these groups will use the NSRS because it makes things easier. It's a lot easier if your state geospatial information agrees with the federal geospatial information. So we recognize that while our job says we have to support feds, we really recognize that the broader community is the entire nation. So we take that very seriously as well. But what that does mean is that there's often between what the users ask for and what tools are available out there, some mix of NSRS information and non-NSRS information. And that's pretty important to make sure that those two things work well. That is fine to mix that. It's just, we really hope we can always encourage people to do this blending of the two correctly. All right, so what is and is not the NSRS? Basically, if we or previous we didn't make it, it's not the NSRS. So just in case you don't know our history, we're the oldest scientific agency in the nation. We go back to 1807. So anything created under these names, that's NGS or NGS's predecessors. So for example, a lot of passive control disks that are still out there, are still being used by people, actually have coastal geodetic survey on them, not national geodetic survey. And the term, the NSRS itself, it's kind of new. We actually introduced that term in 1994. There was a large meeting of a consortium of feds and users. The NSRS replaced various other terms that had been used before that. But as of right now, we use the NSRS to mean everything we're doing that's geodetic control, as well as our historic pieces of the NSRS. So the NSRS now encompasses everything that we have done, as well as the most recent versions of things. For example, nice table here, horizontal datums, the U.S. standard datum from 1901, NAD 27 replaced that, NAD 83 replaced that, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of pieces up here, horizontal datums, vertical datums, the Great Lakes datums, although we work collaboratively with both co-ops here inside NOAA, as well as across the border with Canada to get the Great Lakes datums put together. IGLD 85, for example, was co-defined with NAD 88, so they are really two sides of the same coin. We've put out a variety of geoid models over the years that tie our horizontal and vertical datums together. And there are a number of transformations and projections that are officially part of the NSRS. So NADCON, there's even an FRN that specifically states NADCON is the official way to transform from 27 to 83. The FGC has put that FRN out. The state plane coordinate system, we encompass that. That is something that's officially part of the NSRS. We make sure that it's in our tools and we use it. Excuse me, I misstated that. Actually, we don't use the state plane coordinate system quite as much as we make sure that it is available for those who do use it. So it is part of the NSRS. There's a lot more of that. That's the select list of pieces. And now a few things that are not part of the NSRS. WGS 84 is not part of the NSRS. Neither are any of the ITRF reference frames, the IGS reference frame, the International Height Reference System, not ours. There's a variety of geoid models that came out in the last 40 years or so, none of which are ours. These are global geopotential models. CoreCon is up there, and oddly enough, although it's not part of the NSRS, CoreCon is run by the Corps of Engineers. Now, we have no reason to believe CoreCon is not a perfectly valid and well-operating system. But what CoreCon does is takes a lot of our tools, NADCON, VertiCon, what have you, brings it together, puts it under one particular umbrella, and they've been doing that for years. NGS has actually begun getting into that game ourselves, integrating our own tools under a variety of topics. One is VData, another is the NGS coordinate transformation for NCAD. What is Appendix B6 of DMA TR 8350.2? That's this. This is, for those of you who know it and love it, this is the official report. This is the appendix of the official report that came out when WGS 84 was officially defined. And if you turn to page, let's see here, page 10-17, where it tells you that NAD 83 and WGS 84 have a 0-0-0 transformation. They're exactly the same. Don't believe it. What else is not the NSRS? The Oregon Coordinate Reference System. That is a reference system of low distortion projections used in the state of Oregon. Similarly, Kansas has a coordinate system there. Now, are they bad? No, these are not bad things. They're just not our job. But they are things people care about. And so we care about the NSRS, and we care about our customers. That means if they care about this, we want to make sure that all of these things are interplaying properly. That's, I think, a huge focus of our discussions with you. So mixing these two together, let's do it. For example, one great example, if you go to the documentation for the Oregon Coordinate Reference System, there is a nice mathematical definition of the relationship to the NSRS. It's crystal clear. So you can work in the NSRS, you can transform into the Oregon Coordinate Reference System. And you're doing just fine. You go back and forth between the two. It's not our system, but it's there and it's well defined. There's some wrongness to it. Saying those two sentences, that's wrong. They're close, and they can be approximated at certain times. What they basically do, though, is they sort of gloss over some history, accuracy, and application issues. And that's where we want to make sure that people wish to work with something like WGC84, but they think they're accessing it from the NSRS. We need to make sure that actually the proper way of doing that is allowed. So I think the best way to keep that in mind is we need to consider accuracy needs. Now, we're geodesists, so we stay up late at night wringing our hands over millimeters, all right? But not everybody needs millimeters of accuracy. You could have users out there where 3 meters is all they're looking for. They're hiking. They just need to know where on the planet they are. They're just driving down a road. They just want to know what road they're on, not necessarily what lane they're in. If that's the case, well, then yeah, WG74 is more or less than 8083. Because really, at that accuracy level, there's nothing wrong with that approximation. And transforming from one global reference system to another with a 14-parameter transmission, that's okay. That's not bad. But if they start drilling down a little bit deeper, now they want 3 decimeters. But now certain things are okay. The last 2 adjustments of NAD83 are effectively the same at 3 decimeters because there's just a couple of centimeters of difference between the two. So you're going to be hiding underneath 3 decimeters of accuracy. But it's not good enough to say that the original NAD83 is the same as the current. Those things move 50. 3 decimeters is not being met with that approximation. But NADCON works to better than 3 decimeters, so no worries. If your users have 3 centimeters of accuracy, then everything matters. And that's where all of the in-depth genetic knowledge inside of NGS really should come to bear on any issues where your users are talking about centimeters. There are lots and lots more than I could put on the slide of issues that will affect your users at that level. So we want to make sure that we're always talking about when you ask a question and we're trying to provide an answer, we need to know to what level of accuracy we're trying to answer that question. All right, that's everything. So thank you very much.